I was brought up in a family that was very connected to art.
In Argentina?
In Argentina. My mother was a Trotskyist sociologist, and my father was a judge and a polo player. So basically they fought all the time, you know, the communist with the oligarch. And my mother's friends were Jorge Romero Brest, who was the founder of the Ditela Institute. They came to my home all the time, or to our ranch. Laura Buccellato, which was the director of the Museum of Modern Art. So as a child, I grew up listening to all these people argue. Yeah, exactly. So one day when I was 11, I was in my father's ranch, and there was a very big tree, like a 200-year-old tree, where Jorge Romero Brest sat every day under that tree. He was very big, like a Buddha, and he sat there and did nothing. And because I was little and he was big, I was frightened by him. But one day, I grabbed courage and I approached him and asked him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Come here, Ximena. I'm going to tell you a secret." Kind of like your conversation with Miss Mori. And he whispered in my ear, "You know, many people don't know, but thinking can be really fun." So he was there thinking. And I can say that's my world. My world is a world of ideas. I love ideas. I love the power of ideas. I love how ideas can change the world. I love creating.
What you like to do too.
Yes, I like creating platforms for people to share ideas. So that's how I started. And then I was lucky because I had these people around me, and I was trained as an artist. When I was 15, I was already painting and sending my work to the salons, and I was doing well. But I realized I wasn't going to change the world with my art. I was good. I won like the silver medal, you know. I could have made a career out of it. But I realized that I wasn't going to change the world with my art. And it would have been a selfish decision to try to be an artist myself when I had the resources and the joy of connecting the unconnected, of helping people push forward things that I thought were more meaningful than what I was doing. So I still paint, but I paint for myself. I have my private collectors that they get all my art for free. But my true joy is to connect people and to amplify messages. So I think that in Francesca's work you can truly see the power of art, how art can also be a very powerful tool. It can be very political. Sometimes, and very much now, I think that we are on the verge of, it's in the hands of the artists and some thinkers to show us what we are not seeing, and it's so clear in front of our eyes. So,
but how did you begin? So what was the first step? Did you buy something? Did you discover some artists that you wanted to make some project with? How did it happen?
One of the persons that came to my house very often was the director of the first cultural center after the military government in Argentina. I was 17 or 18. Military government had finished. It was a big celebration, and the first cultural center that opened was the Centro Cultural Recoleta. The director was a very important intellectual, Miguel Briante. He was one of my father's best friends, and I told him, I want to work with you. I just loved him. So that's how I started. I started with him, and I worked there for a very long time. There was nothing. There was no budget. There was nothing, but 9,000 square meters of exhibition space. 21 exhibition rooms, one auditorium. The Centro Cultural Recoleta now is an important space, but back then it was a big effort to try to make it work. So that's how I started. But my first epiphany with art was at the National Gallery in Washington. My parents dragged me through museums, and I found everything very boring, until I found myself face to face with the Castle on a Rock by Magritte. So that was my first.
The title of the Magritte?
The Rock on the Castle, El Castillo sobre la Piedra.
Ah, okay.
It's a very famous, the one that's it's a giant rock floating on top of the ocean, and there is a rock castle on top of it. That's when I was shocked. That was my first epiphany. And then Matisse, the paper cutouts, which are, there's a whole room in the National Gallery for the paper cutouts by Matisse. So, like Duchamp said, I believe in artists. I don't believe in art. It's true. So what we created here, if you want, I can go through it very quickly.
But just tell us, you have two places for your activities.
Exactly.
One is in Argentina, and so tell us.
Okay, so all my life I worked in the art world, in exhibitions, museums, galleries, biennials, festivals, all sorts of artistic projects. The only thing I truly and only always cared about was art. Everything else was sort of boring to me. And my dream was always to have my own space and be able to do whatever I wanted. Because until I started working with Alan, I worked at the Malva, the Museum of Latin American Art. And although I loved the museum, I felt it was very, it was like a corset. It was very constrained.
Restrictive.
Yes. So I needed a space for freedom. I grew up to be very critical of the art world and art as a commodity. And I wanted a space that would not have any sort of commercial pressure. So my trade-off, I helped Alan to create a lot of the things that we've done together in Buenos Aires and in Miami, but I asked for one thing in exchange, which was the art centers. So basically my trade-off was that. I said, okay, I will do all of this, which I do well, but I don't enjoy as much, if I have a space of freedom where I can invite all these thinkers and different practitioners and people to connect, to create a bridge. To create a bridge.
Argentina and?
So first, the project started in Buenos Aires. It's what we call, I'll show you. So we have one in Buenos Aires and one in Miami. They're mirrored. They're very similar footprints. There are two large-scale cultural districts because culture is at the heart. I like the idea of creating a dialogue between South and North because throughout history there's always been a dialogue from West to East and East to West, but South and North don't truly connect too much. So both of them, it's a cultural stent. There is a flux between both of them and there is a dialogue, which is a very interesting exploration that we're doing right now. The program is very experimental. So as you can see, the footprints are similar. There's hotel, residences, art center, retail. So like Francesca said, it's like the Medicis. It's combining the highest cultural expressions with the finest architecture. In this case, in both cases, surrounded by nature, and trying to create what an example of an ideal city could be. The Faena Forum is designed by Rem Koolhaas. It's a spectacular room. The Faena Art Center Buenos Aires was a 100-year-old mill, a flour mill. And the program is divided in 4, basically inspired in the Vedic astrology, because in the Vedic chart, there are 4 stages for the evolution of the soul. And so I created 4 stages for the evolution of the program to raise awareness and to be educational. So each one of these are one step up. It's like a video game, you know, like next step. So we're trying to connect audiences and to teach audiences. So there are really different levels to the programs. Artistic Collaboratories is much pop, immersive, creative. It's a roller dancing rink on the beach. Soledades is much more intellectual. So basically, I created a non-for-profit institution which I chair. And what I'm particularly interested in is in post-disciplinary, time-based, innovative, site-specific, immersive, and to create this transformative bridge across the Americas, to connect the popular and the experimental, to create basically a space for social interaction, most of all, because in the end it's all an excuse. It's like Francesca was saying, it's all about the people. So if the people, the meaningful people, the agents of change, the people that can make a difference, if they're not there, nothing will happen. You can have a great idea, but if you can't execute it, it's useless, right? So, well, this is a program. I think we don't want to go through the program. It's a procession. We invited the whole city to celebrate. It's an artistic processional performance. We commissioned Claire Tancon. She's a
It means precisely, it means if I go to Faena Hotel, which is not open yet, right?
It's open.
It's completely
Completely,
finished?
yes.
So the art project is finished too?
It's going to be finished in 2 months, and it's opening in October 29th.
Okay.
With a very long day of activities. The first one is this. We invited the whole city to celebrate. We commissioned Claire, who's a specialist in processions and carnival. She's been studying them for a very long time. She was born in Trinidad, so it's a very Caribbean tradition. And we are tapping into the communities. We want people to understand that this forum is a gift for the city. It's not a museum where there's painting hangings on the walls. That's why we called that forum. Although it's a very common name, the forum was born in Rome, and it was a space for social interaction and where ideas were going to be shared and challenged. And that's why we called it forum, because that's the mission. The mission is to challenge, to doubt, to throw good and interesting ideas into society. We invited 3 international artists, Carpinteros, Antoni Miralda, Marinela Senatore. There is all the schools marching bands, the universities, the New World Symphony, the Miami City Ballet, the Gay Men Chorus. They're all participating. So I don't know how many people will come, but I can say it's the most difficult project I ever did in my life. Sometimes I regret having thought about it, because it's a living thing. It's impossible to control.
But it means I go to the hotel and I will see all that happening all around?
If you come on October 29th, yes, because the procession is from 12 to 3, and you're going to be able to go inside the forum for the first time. Then, that afternoon, inside the space, because the procession happens on the streets, it happens here.
We need to come.
Yeah, you need to come.
All of you need to go to Miami.
It's not here.
Seems very exciting, right?
It's going to be exciting. I would love you to come.
And very exciting, associated to an hotel, right?
The association with the hotel is interesting because what creates is a cross-pollination of ideas. If you don't have the hotel, and I've experienced this because we already have a similar project in Buenos Aires where we have an art center and a hotel, what happens is that the truly interesting things happen in the hotel. You do the exhibition in the art center, but what happens after the art exhibition and how people interconnect and the projects that are born, it's like the Biennale in Venice. What's more interesting, the Biennale or what happens in the Vaporetto or in the hotel lobby, where all these extraordinary people that would have never met all of a sudden meet in an unexpected setting and unexpected things happen, so you are connecting the unexpected. And when you connect the unexpected things happen. If your mind, spirit, and body are in the same place, very interesting things happen. And
so that's the idea of the forum, right?
It's a space for cultural manifestations at large. It's a trigger. The forum is a trigger. Then there are many sounding boards around it, and it's a snowball. So the forum puts the ball to roll, and everything else kind of adds layers to the avalanche.
But in the hotel, is there work of art? Is there something
I'll show you.
conventional or not?
Yes, there's a lot. So there's a lot of public art. I'm very interested in public art particularly, and I'll show you some. So this is a roller rink that we did during our Basel on the beach with Asome Vivi Astrofocus. This is a gone but not forgotten by Damien Hirst that is installed in the hotel permanently. We built a pavilion, it's temperature controlled, and it's sitting there and people love it. Children, it's incredibly successful. Studio Job, it's a Kunz that we received as a gift. Almudena Lovera, also on the beach. These are all for free. They're site-specific, they're free, and they're also very immersive and participatory, and easy. When we do public work, it's work that is engaging. Miami is a very challenging city. You're competing against the ocean. People don't go to lock themselves up in museums for too long. They want to be on the beach, they want to have fun. It has a different rhythm. It's not metropolitan. Jim Denevan, this is all public. This is Buenos Aires, Pablo Siquier, Los Carpinteros. So many times when we commission a site-specific work, we then buy it. And at the moment of commissioning it, we know where we're going to put it after. So we normally work with the artist and think, okay, once we finish, maybe we can put it in this park, or we can put it in this building. The Neto that we did for the opening of our art center, this one, we didn't have room for it. So team bought it.
So it's another common point about you, huh? Ernesto Neto.
Neto is a common point, but I think that the common point is what I just said, is like a vibrational wave. Then the artists are, the people who actually help us articulate the message. Carpinteros, Manuela Mestoy, Franz Ackerman, the biggest painting he ever did. A.S. Placef, Anthony McCall, Marcelo Pisu, I see him there. We did this together. This was amazing. It was a performance carousel. The public came in and they rode those bikes, and it turned around, and there were 8 different performances that people could interact with. So it's a very playful. Fyodor, exactly. Fyodor and Marko Brajovic. Richard Long, I think I saw Richard there somewhere. He walked through Patagonia like for a year, and he came back and did this, which was extraordinary. So the program in Buenos Aires is different, though, from the program in Miami, and as we evolve as people, the program evolves as well. So that's all I have to say.
I can't believe you. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Okay.